Hello, everyone. This is Thomas Pepin NHL Talk. I'm Thomas Pepin, and let's talk about the NHL. So, today is part two of the series I'm doing on, it's called Be a Real NHL GM. And so, essentially, what I'm doing is going over the moves I would make for different franchises um, in order to make the franchises perform better. So the ones that I've targeted are the franchises with GMs who've been there a while and where their performance is either subpar or they need a change of management or something along those lines. So um, yesterday was the Nashville Predators, short-term memory, and then today is the Winnipeg Jets. Now, one thing I learned from yesterday is I only really have time to take a look at um, the biggest moves that I would make. So the reason being is all the NHL players I have to look through to figure out comparables to be able to make trades that are fair and realistic. So, and the other thing, the plan that I or the approach that I take is essentially where on the trades I make, I should lose the trades at least to what a regular person would say about them. So, uh, where it's some degree of like um, performance, name recognition, something uh, where the team I'm representing would lose in the trade. Um, so that's what we're doing. And if you haven't recognized already, I am wearing my Jets stuff because I am, in fact, a Jets fan. Um, I've been very supportive of Kevin Cheveldayoff, of course, the GM of the Winnipeg Jets. I've been very supportive of him. I think I've always thought he's done a good job, but now that I've had a look and I've reconsidered, um, I'm not so confident that I have that position or that opinion of him anymore. So, um, we will start. Just give me one sec to get things loaded up here. And just for reference, again, as yesterday, I use my algorithm that I've created. So the one that I use for sports betting, um, where it gives me an expected scoring value for different players and teams, and then it'll help guide me in potential trade targets, an evaluation of the changes I've made, and things like that. Uh, so still bear with me here. Almost done. And so you'll see a link in the description there that shows you what I'm using. So the tool is at Cap Friendly, the armchair GM. So it allows you to move players and sign players and things like that, and it keeps track of the cap for you. So it just simplifies things for me as I, make moves and things like that. So I think I have everything. Oh no, one more thing here. Uh, So today should go a bit more smoothly. Because yeah, like I said, I'm not gonna go over because I was in the process of attempting to do a whole bunch of moves, and it wouldn't have made sense because it's in effect. So a good way to put it is, it's really the big moves that are the major things that I should comment on because the rest, for example, um, like yesterday, so I picked up Alex Chason um, from free agency. Now, I would do the same thing for pretty much every team. So, what's the point in really doing that for every team? Doesn't make so much sense. So only where things are obvious and I need to do them are the types of moves I'll make. Otherwise, I'll leave things be for the rest, which is, not ideal because, for example, if there's a $3 million contract that I would like to move and it's just going to be too tedious to work it out, well, then, um, yeah, it's going to be lacking in the accuracy, comprehensiveness, things like that. So, um, that's the problem. But I mean, to go and make all the moves for a franchise, including things like um, prospects and things like that. So, I mean, that would just be, it would take days. Well, or at least a long number of hours, which would, you have to spread over days for it to make any sense. And it just doesn't make sense because it's more for illustrative purposes anyways. So anyways, so I think I have everything pulled up here. Uh we actually, first I should have a look here. So upon first glance, the primary issue I'm seeing is uh not enough scoring spread out. So uh according to my algorithm, Winnipeg ranks 27th in expected scoring, which is far too low. Now, they're a decent team, and I mean, could be misleading because their roster hasn't really changed that much. Um, and they've been to a conference final not too long ago. Um, so it's not perfect, the algorithm, but it does a weighted average. It's supposed to be, I've tested, it's the most accurate I could make it. And at this point in time, with the players they have, uh, their expected scoring is pretty low. Um, so given that, they need to get more scoring. Um, and how are they going to get that? That's it's a good question because what are you going to do with this team? Um, so there's a lot of money spent on defense. If I'm not mistaken, so they have, it's not too crazy to be honest, but so 6.25 for Morrissey, 5.875 for Pionk, Schmidt at 5.95, DeMello 3, Dillon 3.9 million, of course. So they're not that crazy of contracts. So it's hard to really knock it. Now, I think what Cheveldayoff has done, um, is he's put together what you could argue would be standard practice, legacy practices for roster composition. Now, I could be incorrect um, in my assessment, but historically, it's always been two scoring lines, two checking lines. So they have two scoring lines, two checking lines, and the problem is you don't get enough scoring going that route. So something that a lot of it might have even been Shovel Day off, but I've heard a lot through different content, like hockey content and stuff, is where you need to have everybody contributing in some way. And to just shut down, I don't think is sufficient because um, you have to score too. And I mean, so yes, if the line scores more than it is scored against, then that's good. But you need that from everybody, and it just seems like you're shooting yourself in the foot by going with just two scoring lines, two defensive lines. It just doesn't seem right to me. But um, anyways, so that's kind of what it looks like. Um, maybe a bit too much spent on defense. Um, let's do some math here, actually. So 26.663 divided by where is it? 79.878. Oh, I should say the cap hit currently for the Jets is 79.878 million. So they've got cap space of 3.089 million. So some space still to spend if they choose. So in total, their defense takes up 33.4% of their cap. And then to do the math on that, um, seven divided by 22 equals. So defense make up approximately 31.8% of the roster spots. So really, it's close enough to, on a percentage basis, percentage representation basis, to what it should potentially, in theory, be. Now, as I've mentioned previously, I don't like spending too much on defense because on a per ice time basis, they contribute to scoring much less. So now that's just raw numbers, not necessarily. So, for example, breaking the puck out, they contribute, but they might not get credit for it, and so on. But uh, just exclusively from points, they contribute less. So, in theory, I would uh, want a larger representation um, in forwards than in defense. And just for argument's sake, 2 divided by 22 is 9%. So 9.1% is on a roster spot basis the representation for goalies, and then the actual spending, 79.8 equals 8.8%. So they're less actually for goalies on a roster spot representation basis, if that makes sense. So, okay, so they're underspending, I guess, in theory on goaltending. Uh, Also in theory underspending on defense, and then obviously that means they're overspending on forwards. Now, uh, that's where I would still say that's not quite the case because I would say there should be a larger representation of spending on forwards than on defense. So, um, mhm. So really, out of the gate, like, I mean, already I can't say much because I've always been, like I said, I've always been impressed by Cheveldayoff, and I mean, they've got what should be, at least on paper, a good defense, and up front, I'd say they're just thin on scoring. So it's not a bad team, but obviously insufficient. So well, that was the other thing I wanted to do. Um, so this is something I should have done already, but hadn't. So they've been in the NHL for 11 seasons, and they have missed the playoffs 6 times. They've lost in the first round or qualifying round 3 times. Got to the second round twice, and then one of those 2 times got to the conference finals. So really, well, I guess the franchise was kind of starting not quite from scratch because it was a relocation as opposed to expansion, but more or less starting from scratch when they moved over to Winnipeg. So they're still young, I guess, and they've made the playoffs 4 years in a row, excluding last year, and they're doing well so far. So I don't know. The other thing to note here, uh, which I don't know if I said outright or if I just alluded to, but um, Cheveldayoff's been the GM since they moved to Winnipeg, and so that's 11 years. And in 11 years, for that performance, I'd say there's probably some room for improvement, maybe, but yeah, it's hard to say because I mean, it's not a new team, but it's essentially a new team, anyways. So now going back to the roster here, where to start? So they don't get enough production um, from Stanley, DeMello, Dillon, Pionk, Schmidt, and Morrissey are um, all acceptable, I guess, for their position. Um, could be better. Let's see some comparables here. What defense? So Schmidt Last year was right around all the people that get paid about the same. Pionk, same thing, right around people that get paid the same. Where's Morrissey? Morrissey, same thing. Now I think this is where it drops, but we'll see. Dylan. No, it's pretty darn close. DeMello. DeMello's a bit low, I'd say, compared to the rest. But still, it's hard to really knock it. Now, so personally, what I would say, because I know the team well, they've got a lot of young prospects. So a great example is Heinola. Um, he's upset because he's playing in the AHL. He thinks he should be in the NHL. And really, if you look at the roster, what they should be doing is letting some of these younger guys play to save cap space. Because, like, how much of a competitive difference or competitive improvement would you have from playing DeMello versus Dylan Sandberg or DeMello versus Heinola? Um, Another guy, what's his name? Uh, oh, they lost him to Montreal. Oh God, what's his name? Give me a sec. I'm gonna find him. Kovacevic. So he could have, in theory, potentially made the jump. He's played 11 games in Montreal, +2, no points. But I mean, so he'd be getting paid 766, 767,000, versus spending. Oh, did I clear out that? Give me a sec here. No, okay. Versus 3 million on DeMello. Is it much of a difference? Like, again, if you get into advanced analytics and stuff, maybe there's clear differences, but I'd say it's arguable. The negative impact defensively, uh, combined with the positive improvement to scoring, if you allocated that money to forwards, the net result, I would have to guess, would be um, positive if you were to eliminate DeMello and replace him with a younger guy, and then use that money on a forward, like a $3 million forward. It just that's I can't prove it, but that's what it feels like would be correct. So, um, anyways, so I guess we'll have to make a move with one of the defensemen. So it's going to be DeMello. I think that's the only choice, really. Um, he's inexpensive. He performs well enough. Somebody would take him. Uh, hmm. who so I'm gonna have a look, see of who could be targeted here. Let's do this. Every time I see Duclair, I want to try to pick him up, but the problem is I don't think they'd give him up for DeMello. DeMello and something, probably still not. Perron, another guy I'd like to pick up, but wouldn't be able to. Mm-hmm. Tanner Janot would be good. The problem is I don't think Nashville would want another defense. Bunting, 4th round pick, only one good year. Would Toronto want DeMello? That's a good question. Let's go have a look. So maybe another indicator would be what line is he on? He's on the 3rd line. Then what's his... Well, we'll pause that for now. It's close to Toronto taking that trade because I think they'd want another defense. DeMello's good. But yeah, for Winnipeg, I don't know if it'd be good. Roslovic, they just lost him. They're not going to bring him back. How is Seattle's defense? Larson. It's not bad. I mean, it is bad, but at least on paper, it's not bad. See, it's funny. All the guys that they should want to add are guys they used to have, like Paul Stastny, Andrew Kopp, Roslovic, as I mentioned, maybe as an option. It's funny. It's not looking like they can get anybody. That's the problem right now. Or anybody of any significance. Connor Sheary, maybe? It's not a bad track record. Let's see. And does Washington have any space? I think maybe that could happen. Yeah, it's pretty darn close. So I think Orlov, Jensen, Van Riemsdyk, Gustafson. I think it would be an improvement. They get rid of Sheary probably. So it's close. I mean, I don't know for sure that Washington would go for this, but we'll pretend that DeMello would go to Washington for Sheary. Let me do that. And we want DeMello. Now maybe Washington would have to do some moves or something, or maybe, they'd trade away another player to get equal cap hit or something would happen. I don't I would always try to avoid retaining, salary, uh, just because 'cause it'll get in the way. Um, so we'll just pretend that this trade goes through. So DeMello for Sherry. Now, where is it here? Okay, so and that also clears cap space. Um, okay. Morrissey, Pionk, Schmidt, Dylan, Sandberg, some other guy. Move Stanley out of injury. I mean, looks good enough for me on defense. Um, you'd maybe want to shed a. So preferably, you'd have 3 defense under relatively large salaries. So all around 5 to 6 million, and then the rest you'd want 1 million or so. So maybe 2 veterans at a higher price, 1 veteran at a high price with a prospect that's going to eventually be one of the better players, and then the last line just some gap fillers. So around $1 million or under for them. That's what I would want to do. But in any case, to clear out 1 defenseman leaves some cap space. Um, the problem is we're not in free agency right now, so all I can really do is fix it from this point into the future. Um, so we got Connor Scheifele, Wheeler. I would want to trade. Man, this team it's pretty thin up front. Jeez. So if you leave Wheeler, um, God, this team is really thin up front. Gagne is a decent player to have, good value. Sheary, we have now. If you keep the shutdown line of Lowry, Appleton, and someone else, what are they currently doing? So currently they have. Oh, I forgot about Ehlers is injured. So that's my bad. So Connor, Scheifele, Appleton, Perfetti, Dubois, Wheeler. God, so thin. Um. All right, let's pretend Ehlers is healthy. Gagne, Sheary. Toninato. Well, one thing I should say is already the team just with picking up Sheary moves them up a few spots, so to 23rd, or sorry, 24th. So still not enough. They don't have really much to give up. Trade Wheeler for somebody. So they should keep Connor, obviously. Scheifele, obviously. Or I should say, probably. Ehlers, probably. At some point, they're going to have to shake things up, I think. But, yeah. They need to probably trade Dubois. Dubois and Wheeler are the guys I would try to move. It sucks because they're a good value. So in theory, to be honest, I would keep the team as is. They have $4 million in cap space, and in the summer pick up one player at $4 million to fill out the roster. You do that, and you add in who's a $4 million player? Let's do it this way. Where is it? I thought there was a way to find. There we go. So we want free agents at the end of next year worth $4 million. And they need to be a UFA. Bergeron, no. Bertuzzi would be beautiful to pick up in free agency. Who's more realistic? Kerfoot. Maybe a Killorn. Anybody else? Bunting. So we meet again. Let's just say Evan Rodriguez for argument's sake. So with that cap space, 3.29, which would put them to 16th. So there you go. So you clear the cap space, and then already you can get yourself up to 16th. So that's just a thought. But otherwise, I mean, yeah, I just don't know what they could get for Wheeler and Dubois. Bo Horvat. What's his background? I think Dubois is an RFA at the end of his contract. So what I was thinking is maybe Dubois for Bo Horvat, maybe. Yeah, he's an RFA. So could they shake that? Maybe. $28 goals, 60 points. Bo Horvat's center. I mean, is it much of a difference to get Bo Horvat versus keep Pierre-Luc Dubois? Not really. Anybody else? Tyler Bertuzzi. Man, this is tough. I don't even know what to do really with the roster. You'd almost want to trade just for trade's sake because they just haven't performed well enough. You could trade Lowry. Would anybody want him? Adam Lowry, and he's got 4 years left. man. I can't even think of anything to do here, so, it's tough. It's almost like they have what they have, and they can't really do much about it. Um, I mean, if you trade Wheeler, you're probably not gonna get back the same performance. Um, Scheifele, the performance is too good. Ehlers is too good. Connor's too good. Same thing for Dubois. You're gonna get the same thing back. It's yeah, it's almost like you have to wait for development, but it's starting to get a bit too late now. Um, hmm. I mean, I'm trying to see if there's any young guys that they could trade Wheeler for, like a team that's trying to win now and where the young guy's just not quite there. But even that, there's not really anybody. Um, let's see here. No. I think they're just kind of stuck with what they have. I can't see any way out of it. Because, I mean, if you're going to trade Wheeler, you're not going to be able to trade up unless you give away prospect or something else. And then the development of the franchise, so the ability to maintain a competitive roster is going to go down. And you don't want that because the team's not quite good enough to compete anyways. Um, so what do you do? Maybe Wheeler. Could you trade Wheeler for Bertuzzi? Tyler Bertuzzi. He's going to be UFA. He's younger. That's the problem. His contract's expired. So if you don't think you can re-sign him, then maybe you would trade him for Wheeler. But even that, and Wheeler's 36. So I think they're stuck. I can't see any way out of this. You need to. So I guess something I've already done. You clear cap space, and then you're going to need to sign people. Otherwise, you have what you have, and that's it. So we have enough to fill 4 million after clearing that. If you could trade Lowry, great, to clear more cap space and then sign somebody. That's really all else. The only other thing you could do. Appleton at 2.167 is fine. Yeah. That's it. I mean, it's all I can really do with Winnipeg. So as plain as it's been and how it's taken me an hour to kind of come to this conclusion, there's not really anything Winnipeg can do. They're kind of stuck with what they have. They could trade prospects to bring in other people now, but I don't think that's going to, in the long run, they're not going to be able to do anything. Maybe they could compete for a cup in the short run, but I don't know. I guess that's one thing they could do is trade Dubois to Detroit for Bertuzzi. I think Yzerman would take him. Gets the RFA status still. And so if they can't re-sign Bertuzzi, that would make sense. Same story with Vancouver, Bo Horvat. Maybe in that case you'd want more. Actually, in both cases, maybe slightly more than just Dubois. Maybe Dubois and a decent prospect or a draft pick or something like that. What else? Yeah. So really, their only chance to fix this team is trade, because they're going to lose in the trades for what they're going to give up and what they're going to get back. So if they try to trade Wheeler, they're probably going to lose the trade. If they try to trade Dubois, they're probably going to lose the trade. Dubois, maybe you have a chance at breaking even if you can get a guy on an expiring contract and then actually be able to re-sign him. But that's a stretch. So you're kind of screwed no matter what trade you make. Unless you trade one of your one of your higher quality players and performers, like Ehlers or Connor or Scheifele, and in all cases, you're going to lose anyways in the trades. So it's either you roll the dice and run with what you got, or you rebuild. There's not really anything. Or the third option, so the best option is to try to get people from free agency, and the problem with that is that a lot of people don't want to go to Winnipeg, so you're kind of screwed across the board in Winnipeg. You're gonna have to keep shooting until hopefully you accomplish something because you got no other shot. Yeah. So I think that's a conclusion. So trade away DeMello, clear cap space, sign somebody at $4 million. That's pretty much all they can do. I mean, okay, so I guess here's another thing they could do is so the players that they don't trust enough yet and that have been in the pipeline for a long time to trade them while their value is still good. So a problem they had was they traded away Sami Niku after his value had tanked, and then he never materialized. Yeah. Uh, if they traded him when he still had value, but they knew that he wasn't going to work out, they could have maybe gotten something for him. Whereas they waited too long. Now the problem is if you trade him and then they turn out becoming something, maybe you didn't give it enough time. So it's a fine balance there too with development. So what I was getting at is maybe you trade Heinola in one of these trades as a sweetener, because if you think that he's not gonna play, maybe. But even that, so as a sweetener, I mean, all you're doing is to get to where you break even on a trade. So for example, you're trading Dubois, you sweeten it with Heinola, and you're still going to get somebody of similar performance to Dubois. So what's the point in the trade? You're actually going to lose the trade. So the only way that this team actually turns into anything is free agency. It doesn't. I can't see anything else happening. Otherwise, they need to rebuild, but they can't. I mean, they've got enough good pieces that they're all young enough. How can you really do a rebuild? So you just got to keep firing with the same team, I guess, and hope that you can get people in free agency. I think that's the conclusion for Winnipeg. There's nothing else they can do. Unless maybe you trade. Can you trade for somebody better because the cap hits better for example, trading Scheifele and then getting somebody that's a better player at a higher cap hit because the team can't afford them? It's not inconceivable, but it still feels like a stretch. Yeah. So that's it. That's all I got. I got nothing for Winnipeg. I really don't have anything. Trade away DeMello. Maybe trade away somebody else. Pionk. No. Maybe Pionk. Maybe Schmidt. Maybe Dylan. have 3 defense at like a $5 million, $6 million salary, and then the rest younger guys or a million or less or around a million. That's what I would do. If they could clear out another 3.9, so essentially 4, that leaves you 8 million for a free agent. And that 8 million you could get a Bo Horvat or Tyler Bertuzzi or something like that. And then maybe that's enough to win, well, to get into the playoffs and then maybe compete for a cup. Maybe. It's pretty much their only option. So clear out cap space and get a $4 million player, or clear out more cap space and get 2 $4 million players or an $8 million player, or some sort of combination of those. That's pretty much all Winnipeg has as options, it looks like. And yeah, I guess that's it. So thanks for tuning in. If you like this stream, which again, we didn't really get much out of, but the whole point is I do this on the spot, no prep. So don't actually know what the result's going to be. And in this case, we got a big nothing burger. So unfortunate, but sometimes you need to talk it out anyways. So if you like the stream, hit the like button, share it. Otherwise, subscribe, turn on notifications. Otherwise, you could be looking at the homepage for my channel to see upcoming streams. And if you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them in the comments there. Anything like what you would want to see or any feedback. Yeah, that's about it. So thanks for tuning in. Hopefully tomorrow is going to be more interesting. We'll see. Tomorrow is the Columbus Blue Jackets. And I think there's going to be enough that I can do with them, but we'll see. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again tomorrow.